Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to another episode of Monday Mailbox on Tuesday. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question today comes from Jake, and it is, how are you enjoying Cyberpunk 2077? Do you have any complaints? Okay, so Cyberpunk is a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, this is one of the most immersive games that I have ever played. From the storytelling to the environmental detail to the characters, this is a very well-written game, and I'm loving it because of it. But on the other hand, this is also one of the glitchiest games that I have actually played at launch. I knew going into this that there were going to be problems. Pretty much every reviewer out there stated that there was going to be widespread glitches, but I was not expecting it to be this widespread. Basically, every mission that you go on, you're going to encounter probably some sort of problem. Many of them are minor, they're not going to be game-breaking, but you're going to notice them, from characters T-posing, phasing through walls, everyone runs away from you because you just decided to walk down the street for some reason. Like, you're going to notice all of these pretty much everywhere you look. I think the thing that I'm most upset about, though, when it comes to Cyberpunk isn't the glitches, because I can look past that. Many of them are not game-breaking. A lot of them are actually kind of funny. That's not my issue. The issue I have is CD Projekt Red basically lying to everyone and saying that this is going to run on old-gen systems and is doing surprisingly well, but lo and behold, that wasn't the case whatsoever. This game is not optimized on those old-gen consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. People are reporting that they're getting like 14, 15 frames per second on in some parts of the city. That is completely unacceptable. I think what makes this all worse, though, is that they have now come out and apologized for all of this. And while an apology, I guess, is a step in the right direction, they basically stated that they are sorry for not showing gameplay on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One because it didn't give people enough information to make an informed decision on their purchase. The thing is, though, is that they clearly knew that this was not ready on those systems. If they did and they had the confidence in it, then they would have allowed reviewers to actually play this game on those consoles. But they didn't. It was only until the game launched and everyone was like, this is awful, that they've now come out and apologized for it. Like, they wanted to make as much money as they possibly could at launch. Like, I get that they're a company, but this is just shady. CD Projekt Red likes to hold themselves up to a higher standard. They even poke fun at other game companies that do stuff like this, but now they've lowered themselves to this level. And so I think that's probably the thing that I'm most disappointed by this entire situation. And so all in all, while I am loving this game right now, I love the world that they've created, I cannot wait to play more, that doesn't mean I can't recognize its problems, because it does have a lot of faults. And so if you are someone who has been on the fence, and especially if you're someone who's considering picking it up on those old gen systems, you might want to be a bit more patient. The next question comes from Avery, and it is, do you think that Jackal would still be banned as much if he lost his ping? I think a nerf where he sees the footprints, but not to ruin him, they would make the footprints last longer. So I will agree with you that a change like this would finally make Jackal that operator that is no longer sidelined every single ranked game. It would be nice to finally play him in one of those matches, but I also think that this would have the effect of making his gadget practically useless. Yes, there will still be those moments where you notice those footsteps leading to the left-hand side of the room, you swing on in, take out that camper that thought they were gonna have the advantage against you. Like, when those moments happen, they're incredible. It makes you feel like you're a detective, but they happen very infrequently. I feel like a better way of going about it would just be where if he does ping someone's location, it only pings it for Jackal and no one else. I think that's what's so frustrating when you're playing against this character, is that it's easy information for your entire team. Just make it where only Jackal is able to have that information, so they actually has to make callouts. Now I realize that this would make Jackal players' lives a bit more difficult. You've pinged their location, but now you need to figure out where that ping is in relation to where you are. Maybe they're around master bedroom, I'm not entirely certain, but that's kind of the point. You're only supposed to give them a general idea of where they are, so that it isn't just just this I win button for the offensive team for anyone that actually decided to roam around the map. And so at least for me, I think that this would be a better step at trying to reduce his power. I do agree that Jackal's ability to ping someone's location is outdated and really shouldn't have been added to the game to begin with. It just does not make sense to have that much information at your disposal, but I think if they brought it back to where only he had that information and no one else, that would put him in a much better place. I think going all the way where only you can see footsteps is just going too far, but that is just my 2 cents. The next question is, what do you think of a Doc rework in Siege? Make him more of a team player. Give him 5 stims, buff his ally heal to 50, and nerf his self heal to 30. Make him less selfish, put his team first, and not have to choose who gets the heal and who doesn't. So I definitely agree that Ubisoft should probably take a look at Doc. What I find funny about the whole situation is that Doc used to be one of the most popular operators on defense, but as soon as they introduced all the new optics and he lost access to the ACOG, his pick rate and his win rate plummeted. He's not the worst character on defense by any stretch of the imagination, but it was really clear that people were playing him specifically for that one attachment, which usually isn't the best design for a character. And while Ubisoft has clearly shown that they are not above and they actually want to balance operators subtly around the attachments that they have, I think this really shows, at least to me, that people were playing him specifically for that attachment and not because of his gadget, which I think is a problem. And so what I would like Ubisoft to do is to try to improve his gadget in some capacity. The real question is, though, is how do they go about it? You mentioned that Doc players are pretty selfish, and that's hard to argue. And the way that you would try to get or incentivize them to be more of a team player is by giving them access to more stims so they don't have to pick and choose who they're actually healing, and then allowing them to heal teammates for more, but himself less. And while I do think that your heart is in the right place, I don't think this would have the desired effect. A Doc player that wants to heal himself is going to do so. The fact that he now has 5 stims means he's going to be even less likely to heal his teammates in those situations because he's going to use all of them to heal himself back up to full. It doesn't matter that it's less effective. Personally, I think a better way of going about it might be to just simply buff other aspects of his gadgets. One way they could achieve this is by making him more effective at healing or overhealing teammates, but remove the overheal when it comes to Doc. That way, Docs are still going to heal themselves back up to full. You're not going to get rid of that. Doc players are always going to want to heal themselves first, but now you have more of an incentive to give that overheal to a teammate who's about to round the corner and try to take out that other player. That might be a great solution. They could also incorporate some Finka components into it, where maybe if you overheal a teammate, they also have faster aim down sight for that short duration. That could be another way. In general, though, I think it is going to be a bit difficult for Ubisoft to find that sweet spot balance-wise when it comes to his gadget, because at the end of the day, it is just about healing teammates. That as a concept is fairly simplistic. Another idea I've heard bounced around is that they could essentially just make him Rook 2.0, where just like with Rook, you can place down some bandages and then your teammates can run up whenever they want some healing and do it themselves. That way they don't have to rely on Doc the entire round, especially if he gets taken out at the very beginning, and they can heal themselves continuously. Now, the issues with this, obviously, is that this would make Doc way less versatile. You couldn't heal teammates across the room. They would have to come to this gadget on the ground. He wouldn't be able to revive people from across the room like he can right now, even though that itself is a bit situational. I think having interactivity between Doc and his teammates is important, and that kind of idea just eliminates that pretty much entirely. And so let me know what you guys think about Doc. Do you think that he needs improving? How would you go about it? Do you think that he's in a good place right now? I think the community has kind of shown that he really only was used because one attachment, and now that that's gone, he has kind of fallen short compared to a lot of the other characters. As I said, he's not awful, but it would be nice if he did get some slight improvement. And so let me know your guys' thoughts down below. The next question comes from Jesse, and it is, what do you think of EA finally giving the fans what they wanted for the last few years now and giving us a Bad Company 3? Well, I would love if they decided to give us another Bad Company, because 2 was one of my favorite games ever, but every single time someone brings this up, I always think to myself, what would a Bad Company 3 even look like? From the outside looking in, there isn't that much of a difference between Bad Company and your more modern Battlefield games. You have your 4 classes, there's large-scale maps with infantry and vehicle gameplay intermixed. Really, the biggest difference was the more lighthearted campaign. And while I personally would love to have a campaign more along those lines, that's not why I play Battlefield. I play it for the multiplayer. Really, the only thing that I can think of is that Bad Company, since it was more designed around consoles, the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, the maps were a bit smaller, they were more focused on infantry-based gameplay, and the emphasis was on rush. Rush was the mode back then. There was still conquest, but almost every single one of the maps were designed specifically around that offense and defense. I will admit I will be a bit surprised if they do decide to go down this route, because they have stated that the next Battlefield is going to be the biggest yet in scale. Rush and smaller maps don't really give me large-scale gameplay. Like, that's kind of the opposite of it. And so I'm thinking they're gonna once again focus on conquest and having large, sprawling maps. It's possible, but based off of what we've heard so far, I just don't think that's gonna be the case, but we are gonna have to wait and see. Yeah, guys, that is what it for today's episode of Tuesday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you enjoying Cyberpunk? Have you been disappointed? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.